Okay.
At a certain point, once the government had fallen and we were forming the government, there was a lot of things happening at USP when I was there. Promises being made and not being kept, and just different untruths that I don't even want to go back into, because let the history of USP speak for itself is what I would say. At a certain point, if is it all the individuals who have left, or is it the party? I think people should maybe just judge that for themselves. But at that point, is when Teo came to see me and he said, "Listen, Rolando, I'm out of politics. We have a good relationship. I see potential in you. You would make a great leader of the UP party." Also, my people tend to forget what was the number one thing people were asking for during the election last time. More than anything, there was no pandemic. We were trying to get out of Hurricane Irma, but the number one thing people asked for was stability. And for me, looking at the political arena, I saw an opportunity to create stability in this country by having the UP party and the NA form a government. And I felt that because of my relationship and my familiarity with the NA, the change in leadership that happened there, the change in leadership that happened here, that there would be a possibility to form such a broad-based government between the two largest parties, give the people that broad representation and stability. So that was also, I must say, part of my motivation. Can we run an election, and if we don't win outright, can the two large parties come together for the interests of the country and form a government? Even in that sense, when you look at the parties, let's say, philosophies, the National Alliance has always been seen as perhaps a more left-wing socialist party, whereas we have been seen as a right-from-center economy, entrepreneurship, labor party. Well, that worked out even in our negotiations. For the first time ever, the ministries of VSA, the two key economic ministries, the Ministry of VSA and the Ministry of TIAT, are with the UP party, whereas the key social development parties are with the NA, and I think that formula is working well for us. Yeah.
Okay, understood. So, one thing that comes to mind is, how you've often shared, even just now, of wanting to raise the bar in Parliament and so forth. Yeah. But one of the stains, that we have, that we Martini's move away from, let's say, is the fact that, like from years back to now, you had several MPs who've basically been convicted in court and so forth. So what is your take on that, as well as the way in which, again, we can raise a standard, of politics, but of Parliament as well?
I think the easy answer is whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty. I think that is something we have to recognize, because we look at the examples of people that get convicted and then are ultimately convicted, but we forget the examples in this society where people are accused, they go to trial, they get dragged through the mud, they lose their job and everything, and then they are acquitted. One example of that is a young man, Erling Hoover, who was a great person in justice. He was dragged through all kind of nonsense and was acquitted. And he has to now live with that. You also had, people who were working at the Housing Foundation, like Emilio Camer and so on, dragged through, oh boy, look at they did this. And then you get all of that negative attention, and then you're acquitted. So at a certain point, what happens if members of Parliament or other people within the public service are eventually acquitted? You can say, well, then maybe they should step down and go back in after. But you can't take back the damage that is done publicly, the way these things are done, how public a spectacle it is. You can't take that back. So for me, personally, I think for members of Parliament, it should be, a lot of it should be based also on their ability to perform as parliamentarians. I think, for example, MP Boncamper, yes, he's going through his legal situation, but I don't think anybody can question that Boncamper is a pretty good parliamentarian. He asks the right questions. Me and him have submitted an amendment together before. Actually, I think we did 2 amendments together. So he's a good legislator. He's very knowledgeable. He knows the civil service. And I see a bipartisan way in him, where he works. He will call out the government when they ain't doing good. But if the government and the coalition in Parliament is for something good, he will vote his conscience and vote with us. So, that's the tricky thing about it. In many places in the world, they leave it up to the individual, and some individuals say, you know what, I'm going to step down amidst this thing. I think my decision was in that manner. You know, I didn't want to allow a situation that was brewing in St. Martin. Although many people told me, Rolando, why are you stepping out far? You was just in your house. No, that was a private, and yeah, the person that recorded you wrong. I say, yes, all of that is true. But at the end of the day, I have a function that requires some example. And if at the very least, stepping down, working on myself, taking some time, and if the parliament wants me to return as chair, that is up to parliament. That's up to a majority in parliament. But what the country needs right now, that we have not had in a long time, is some kind of accountability. So me, for example, I chose that route. But that I can't speak for everyone to say that's what you should do. That if something negative is on you, you should step down. I leave that to everybody to decide, but I think everybody has seen how I dealt with it. I think I decided, you know what, at the very least, the people deserve to see some accountability.
Okay. So, like I told you earlier, you know, off air, I had quite a bit of questions and stuff for you. Mm-hmm. But in the interest of time, I guess I'll stick to two more topics.
Sure.
One of them being decolonization. Mm-hmm. Next one, we'll definitely touch on the Mullet inquiry.
Yeah.
So with decolonization, you know, your party has taken a hard stance where that is concerned. Mm-hmm. And recently, well, like a week and a half ago or so, you were in the Netherlands. So, you know, have you brought this up in any conversations, and where do you see progress or progress from there where this topic is concerned?
I see a lot of the progress is perhaps most importantly in people understanding what we're talking about. That decolonization does not equate to independence, not at this stage. What we're talking about is very simple. You had a referendum from the people of St. Martin when an overwhelming majority of people said they want to be an autonomous country within the kingdom. What that defines to be an autonomous country within the kingdom, we have found, and various petitions that we've submitted and the answers we received have concluded that we have not been given that measure of self-governance. So what we're talking about, for example, is our ability to, the way we manage our finances and the supervision. Not saying we can't have supervision, but we have a general audit chamber. Why can't the general audit chamber, consisting of locals, be our supervisor and have the same legal power to tell Parliament, no, or tell the government, you can't spend that, or you can't borrow that money? Why can't we have our own local institutions that would help create more of these local institutions? Those are some different elements of decolonization. It is about what allows you to be an autonomous country. That is what the people requested back then. But I feel why it was important timing-wise is because we were starting to move away from that. We're moving back to becoming a Netherlands Antilles, but rather than having a Netherlands Antilles that is comprised of the islands, which would have been a better case, you're actually seeing a move towards becoming just another entity from the Netherlands that would just be in charge of everything for us, that would take a strong financial role, a judicial role, even a legislative role.
The coho is what you're referring to?
Yes, the coho. So kind of sending the message to the Netherlands and also to the public, like, look, do we want to see improvements and reforms? Absolutely. That is why we told our Prime Minister, no problem. Go ahead and do what you need to do in terms of country packages, because those are reforms. And I've said it. Those are reforms that had to be done a long time. But the instability and all this stuff probably has prevented it. But what I think is the coho is going too far. And that is where decolonization as a topic right now, and as was discussed in the Netherlands at the forefront, is kind of forcing the Netherlands to pump the brakes and realize, oh yeah, we're kind of overdoing it now, because the autonomy that the people of St. Martin requested, I believe it's over 70%, is being trampled on.
Okay. All right. So next thing comes to mind as well is the Coharis group.
Yep.
Is there any update with that, where that is concerned? Are you guys still in communication with them?
Yeah, absolutely. The Coharis group, I think the public saw the third report. That was the first report that did conclude that there is systemic racism in the manner in which the Netherlands has been dealing with the islands, in particular St. Martin, and they need to fix that. The other report to the special rapporteur, the initial reports that we're getting is that they are very supportive. This is the UN special rapporteur. They're very supportive in also supporting us to have the Netherlands make some adjustments in the way they deal with us. And you'll be surprised that, people might see this as, oh, they're fighting with the Netherlands. This is on a parliamentary level. The governments are having their negotiations, but on a parliamentary level, so the Tweede Kamer and the Parliament of St. Martin, we have now an intermediary, which is the UN Special Rapporteur, that is saying, hey guys, let me just check if you guys playing by the rules, by the international standards of what it is to be an autonomous country. And they're kind of being the referee. The Coharis group is the person that's the expert that understands the language. So that group has been guiding us, has been filing these petitions. Hopefully, I think within the first quarter of next year, we'll be able to share the results of that UN petition. And that should just strengthen the ability for the two parliaments now, when you're dealing with Rijkswet, with what you call that, kingdom laws, on a kingdom law level, that we can be more on the same page.
But and so in the request for their support, let's say, does that come out of Parliament's budget?
Yes, the Parliament, we have a legal budget. So let's say any lawyers we want to hire, whether international or local, we have a budget for that. So that comes out from that. That is not the government that covers that.
Okay, so one thing that comes to mind, as you speak about decolonization, as well as empowering local organizations, one, the bottom line is, even though the manner may not have been favorable, St. Martin signed on to the agreements of like the CFT and so forth. And of course, while there's need to empower local organizations and reform, one of the trends that you still see is particularly where not following advices is concerned. So you can say, well, we can dismantle the CFT, beef up the chamber and all those things, but will that in turn lead to the enhancement of how government operates?
Yes, I think it would. A big problem with the CFT, what you've seen with it, Ralph, is that they have been extremely after the fact. So we, for example, will put in a budget and say we need to fix our prison since 2012, 2013. They will go every single year since then, I believe, up to 2017, and in their advice say, no, repairing the prison is not a priority, okay? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So, yeah, he's multitasking, guys. Yeah, so for example, the prison. They will say 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, in their advices say, no, that's not a priority. So we can't invest and improve our prison. We can't invest and improve our education system because they're saying, no, that's not a priority. You need to save your money. Hurricane comes, destroys everything. Now they want us to fix everything in one shot. What would have been better if we had a more developed prison, better built shelters, housing, all of these things, hurricane resistant. Those investments that we've been trying to make over the years, I think the CFT just didn't understand. The other day, Gradus, the chairman of the CFT, came to Parliament the other day, and he was late by about an hour. And the reason he was late is because he had landed. His plan was to land from the airport and drive straight to Parliament. He planned 15 minutes for the drive, and the drive was an hour and 10 minutes. So when he came in, he said, wow, man, I think we really need to, you guys need to do some more investments in roads because it took me an hour. I'm so sorry I'm late. So we look at each other like, but dude, we've been asking you all for a decade to allow us to invest in these roads. So that is where I'm saying, I think a local audit chamber that would have the same powers of the CFT would at least understand the needs of St. Martin more. And I felt like the CFT truly does not understand the needs of St. Martin.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because indeed, even though we have a representative, the final say is not.
The final say, we have seen it. They literally, the three Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin representatives once wrote a letter completely distancing themselves from a decision that the chairman had said. And it went completely ignored. Like he didn't even.
But that is a danger, I guess. And there seems to be, again, a trend where we sometimes rush through things.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I get that. There's pressures from the Netherlands, and there is that geopolitical spat.
Yeah.
But at what point, do we beef up our, our ability to be self-sustainable, so that that we can finally breathe? Let's say.
Yeah. I can understand what the Netherlands say. Look, I get it. We in some ways we've created a problem for ourselves by not not fixing the things the way we should have, the instability. So I can understand they kind of feel like, look, we need to really maybe hold this country in hand and get it forward. First of all, we're a new country, so these mistakes would have been happening in the beginning. And second of all, it's like, I don't know, it comes across so much like you're not even giving us a chance to see if it would work. Like, let us transition out of it. Let's do it in an interim basis. Let's use our SAD and our audit chambers and so on to do it. The Ombudsman, for example, we have the only constitutional court in the entire kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We've seen how that works. We've seen it actually work, So we've proven that our local institutions can work, but give us the chance to do it, and that is what I think we are. We're not having decolonization like it's the top priority of the country right now. Don't get us wrong. But we have to continuously have that discussion as Parliament with the Netherlands to remind them the Parliament is independent. We are an autonomous country. That is really what the direction politically of decolonization.
Because even when you're saying there, conversations, need to happen. They are necessary, but at the same time, it has to, lead to actual progress, the steps beyond, just saying we need to decolonize and stuff. Because I guess it's kind of tricky, considering that, just the legal structure of it all.
Yeah.
But, for me, it's just like precedent has been set, that while, again, we can beef up our local institutions and they are performing well, they have all their reports online, etc. But one of the common things in all those reports as well is that the advices and stuff that they send, are not followed.
Yeah. But you know how you can fix that? Give those institutions the power that the CFT has. The CFT has veto power. You can't pass a budget without that.
But question, do you need it? It's like, I'm not saying to take every advice someone gives you, but the fact that so many advices just not taken, like, do you, because it's like at the same time, it's like you're kind of setting up a student principal type of, like I have to lash you on your knuckles in order to do something.
But unfortunately, every government in the world, that's why those institutions exist. That's why you have a Federal Reserve, the biggest economy in the world. Even they have a Federal Reserve that Donald Trump, Biden, Clinton, nobody can tell them how much money to print. They say, no, this is economic policy, and this is how we're going to handle money, whether you like it or not. But you think if it was based on advice, well, we advise you not to print more money. Well, every president of the world would have done devalued the dollar already. You have to, that is the point of institutionalizing government, that you need to have layers. That, you can have a commander-in-chief, but that commander-in-chief also has to always have certain guidelines that at the end of the guidelines, there's a limited decision to be taken. But if you let any commander-in-chief just have any amount of power, you've seen what that has done to countries like Venezuela, where the totalitarianism does not last. And I think that's where the institutions need to be empowered, that you're not just an advisory body, you're a body that says, no, if you do not take this advice, if you do not execute this, you will not be able to get your budget passed. So you look at the CFT and they say, oh yeah, but the CFT is needed. The only thing the CFT has that our own local institutions don't have is they have the power. And all I'm saying, the central point in decolonization, just empower my local entities now. Empower my SAD. Empower my council advice, empower my general audit chamber, and then our local people can strive to become the chairman of the SAD, the chairman of the general audit chamber, and be the person to say, no government, you're spending the money bad. Parliament, we don't think you can pass this law. And then the institutions float to grow a country. When you look at all the other, we keep looking at Barbados, and Mia Mottley is the face. But believe you me, there is no country in the Caribbean with more institutional power than Barbados and Bridgetown. I've worked there. I've worked at the CTO. I did internship there. I was amazed. The institutional power, the civil service is on point over there. And that is where we need to strive to.
I get you, yeah, because they definitely empower their people in order to do so. So the next thing that comes, final topic, I guess, moving off of decolonization.
Save the best for last. My favorite.
The Mullet inquiry, which is, one of the highlights of your career so far. So first off, why was this necessary? And when can we expect the finalization and plenary debate of the inquiry?
Yeah. So first of all, let me just mention the current occurrences within the Mullet Bay inquiry. It's happening right now. And that phase is a confidential phase. It's closed door. It's about getting documentation. It's about interviewing witnesses under oath. So I can't comment on any of that. But I'm going to be able to comment on the general, how we got there, because that's public information, because we did get there and why. So let me start with that, just so I'm clear. When I looked at I mentioned earlier in the interview that, why did I get into politics? Because I realized that, you can be the tourism director, but how is it possible? Every conference I go to, and I meet Marriott, and I meet Hilton, and I meet Hard Rock, they're all like, oh, you're the new tourism director, Mr. Brison, nice to meet you. Hey, when are you guys going to develop Mullet Bay? When are you guys going to do something with Mullet Bay? Why are you guys not doing something with Mullet Bay? Why is the government not taking back Mullet Bay? Mullet Bay, Mullet Bay, Mullet Bay. For my entire 2 years as tourism director, I could not stop hearing about it. And then when I asked about it, it was like a taboo. Like, well, I know, yeah, no. And it was like, what? Why is everybody sticking their head on the sand for what I know now to be the most valuable, the most beautiful, the most sought after property in the world? That should be so valuable to us. Not saying you just want to take it and sell it to the highest bidder, but if there's that level of value, there should be so much attention to take it. What we're seeing now is something that I had suspected from before, because I started to do my digging, even though I was told not to dig. And I started to find out that, wait a minute, the reason why no one is touching this, because some of their own people are involved. Their families, their friends, their politicians, their this, their that. And this whole institution was created, this Mullet Bay, Sun Resorts, Enya, and so on. You're seeing by the recent court verdict that, wait a minute, now you understand maybe why nothing was happening. So at the time, I said, wait a minute. The central bank is going to take this institution to court. So the parliament is going to just sit by and allow what I know, what I believe is going to unfold, that, yeah, it's clear this property was mismanaged, it was overvalued and so on, that the evidence has shown that in the verdict. We're going to just leave that happen and then sell to the highest bidder. And then what happens if one of his friends just go and bid? No, Parliament needs to step in. So I looked and I researched, okay, what's the strongest power that Parliament has? Parliament can do a parliamentary inquiry. An inquiry is the highest power that Parliament has, because even to me, it's even more powerful than legislation, because legislation, even if not ratified by the government or if not ratified by the governor, it's not executed. But an inquiry is the public, you're under oath, there is legal means for you to have to execute. What the inquiry can also do is create an important part, and one of the things in the proposal of the inquiry was the expropriation of Mullet Bay. So for those who understand, expropriation is when, in our national ordinance, it talks about when for national interest or for the good of the country, the government identifies land and it must attain this property. But of course, something so sensitive, the Constitution and the law doesn't allow you to just say, I expropriate and laser 101 building. No, you have to come very good. You have to come well motivated with a high level of evidence. The problem is, how do you produce that? The inquiry will be able to produce all the evidence, in my opinion, needed to
in order
move forward.
Basically take back Mullet Bay.
That's it. The inquiry is the gateway to getting Mullet Bay back to the people.
How certain is it that it would be,
The certainty is based on votes. It's done by national ordinance. So once the inquiry is complete, you can now, based on the national ordinance on expropriation, the first step is that the national ordinance is created and well motivated. The report of the inquiry, based on how it goes, can then be attached to that, and it's brought once again to Parliament. I say, guys, we see here, we have been presented the evidence. Based on this evidence, do you as Parliament believe it is time to take Mullet Bay back? How do you vote? And let's see. Very interesting to see how people will vote in that meeting. I know they have one vote. I only need 7 more, because I will be voting for. It is time to take back Mullet Bay. It is time to secure it. And I look forward to the inquiry revealing the information necessary to justify that hypothesis that I've always had.
And so I have several questions for you
Sure.
there, but one of them being, of course, what is the cost of this? To have launched inquiry.
Yeah, originally the budget was like almost 400,000 guilders. Since then, we've cut it down to about 140,000 guilders.
And that goes into legal. What exactly that goes into?
So you have to hire a researcher, the main person that's actually the point of contact. Then you also have legal support. You need lawyers to help with your drafting and so on. At some point in the budget, there's also for an economist to do economic valuation of, okay, what is the economic potential of this property. We also will, in the budget, there's a small travel budget, I believe it's like 20,000 guilders for the commission to be able to go to Curacao because the Cadastre there, ENIA, and the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin have information that the commission would probably need to be able to view. And because you're dealing with confidential data, it's not stuff that, these entities would just say, yeah, man, just we'll send it to you in a box. No, come down there, let's view the information, let's discuss it. So that's one of the expenses. It probably could be less than that. It could probably be done with 10,000 guilders, depending on how long we stay. So those are generally it. But I mean, look, if
are you heading there soon?
What's that?
Will you be heading to Curacao soon?
I can't comment on that because, like I said, those are some of the internal things of it.
So with the commission, I know it's part of a committee.
Yeah.
Who are the members? Did the committee members change?
Not yet, but there is a proposal that I'm going to be sending for a change to update the commission. Right now, it did include MPs Tamara Leonard, Franz Richardson, Anna Richardson. They have now left Parliament. It now contains MP Bijlani, Ludmila Duncan, Christopher Emmanuel, and myself.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to be changing the composition or proposing to Parliament to change the composition to myself and MP Bijlani of the UP party. I'm going to be proposing to add also MP George Pantaflet.
But you won't be removing the one?
Yes. I'll be proposing for MP Emmanuel. He'll no longer be part of the commission, and instead MP Bonkamper.
And that is based on what?
I'll probably explain that when the debate comes.
Okay.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah. I think.
And when can we expect the debate? Because I know
that would be early. We need a parliamentary decision in order to adjust the composition. So that will be done, I think, whenever we do. The plan was I would have requested that meeting together with the OVA of the budget, the public meeting of the budget. When that's approved, we can also add that as an agenda point for a new composition. And then the inquiry continues. The original schedule is what it would have taken 32 weeks.
It had to be ready
unfortunately.
This month. Yeah.
Yeah. I would hope that we can get it rounded off between March and April. Get the plenary
next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would not want to go into into recess. Personally, I would not want to go into recess next year, which is June next year, without having this thing complete.
All right. Yeah. So from a technical point of view, not necessarily focus on individual.
Mm-hmm.
If MP Emmanuel would decide he doesn't want to.
It's up to the party. It's up to a majority in Parliament. So it's not my decision. It's not his decision. It's Parliament can propose at any time, and any of the committees, the Finance Committee, whatever committee. But in a commission, it's really the Mullet Bay Inquiry Committee / Commission. In the law, it talks of a commission, maybe to kind of make a distinction between a parliamentary committee and a parliamentary commission, inquiry commission. That is done by Parliament's decision.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
So the next question is, of course, if St. Martin gets back Mullet Bay, what would be, what to what extent would it be put to use? What is a vision for that property?
I would have to speak of my own vision. The first thing is I don't think we should ever sell it again. I think the government should always own it, and even if it's developed, government should own part of the development, at least. It should be a public-private partnership. I know some hotels in Antigua and in Bahamas where the government owns actually part of the hotels. And what they do is they allow an international bid for all of the best brands to say, listen, this is the property. We're willing to give it an opportunity to a brand to build a property here for 20 years, manage it, and the profits are split with the government. So not only you're just relying on taxes, but you can also make a profit as well. You can make sure that you hire X amount of locals. Being an owner allows you to have a say in those type of things. Whereas if you just lease some land and you let somebody come and run it how they want, you don't have a say on, hey, how many locals are you going to hire? How many local contractors are involved? So that, I think, is the vision for it. I think a lot of the green area should remain untouched. I think we should have parks there. I don't believe, as much as I'm an avid
Maintain
golfer,
that nature vibe.
yeah, as much as I'm an avid golfer, I don't think golf is sustainable for that area. I think maybe you have a 9-hole golf course, and the other 9 holes should be turned into something greener and beautiful, a park for Simatnas. But most importantly, the basic infrastructure, the parking area, no bus stops, this stupid rocks that they have beside the road. Remove all that stuff. Create a proper road, create proper infrastructure for the whole Mullet Bay area so that locals could enjoy Mullet Bay the way we should, not parking up on the side of the road like we do, proper bathroom facilities, these type of things. So that's what I would like to see.
So what comes to mind is, because you shared your vision,
yeah,
but of course your vision is not necessarily the government's vision.
No.
So has the government indicated, at least from their part, if they were to, so if Mullet Bay gets into the hand of our government, what intention they have as well? I mean,
I think what the government is correctly doing is not presuming. Because right now, the property belongs to Sun Resorts, the property belongs to Enya. I, as a parliamentarian, I, as somebody who has been striving for this, I can have my dreams and visions. But the government should correctly respect the fact that, hold on, let's not go making plans for other people's property yet. You can start to realize, let's say once the inquiry ordinance comes, then actually, as part of the expropriation, you must present to the courts a plan. So at that point is when the plan developments will go and so on, which will take some months to develop. I'm sure it's on the back of everyone's mind. Everyone. When we formed this coalition, I was very clear to everyone in the room. I said, guys, I want to make it clear, especially knowing that I'm now the leader of the UP party, I am not backing down on Mullet Bay. And that was made clear to everyone within the coalition. So I'm sure everybody knows at some point we have to put Mullet Bay back on the forefront. Okay.
So I guess finally, ending off on your leadership of the UP party. One of my questions being, you've basically had some persons who resigned from the party and so forth. So what exactly is your goal or vision for the UP, as well as in addition to like the Mullet Bay inquiry and the few amendments that you said that you'll be proposing, it's also part of the legislative focus for the rest of the parliamentary, well, not just this term, but the year 2024.
From a leadership perspective, I think you have to focus a lot on your members of parliament and your ministers. Where the smaller coalition partners, so to speak, we have 4 MPs, we have 2 ministers compared to the National Alliance that has more. So a lot of my leadership focus is on guiding them. I do as much as possible to have meetings with them, guide them on certain things, give them my, I'm considered within the party to be a pretty good strategist, so political strategy on how we're going to focus on things. We have a group chat with all our candidates that are with the party, and I keep them informed as much as possible. Communication is so important. As a leader, I'm always in contact with people. They can always be open to reach out to me, to come to see me. That is such an important thing nowadays, especially when you've had political parties that basically they run the election, and after an election done, they change their phone number, you can't find the leader no more. That is something I still want to keep up as much as possible. And looking at everyone's growth politically all around us, not just the ones that are ministers and MPs, but you have different former candidates that are working in different areas. They also, asking them, hey, what is your vision? What do you want to see happen? What can we do? Like I mentioned, Cressburg Brown about internet. You have Sharensley Valise, who is very much into the environment and so
Ironically, on Mullet Bay too.
Yeah, and on Mullet Bay as well. So me and him are in constant contact about the happenings at Mullet Bay. So all of the things that you sometimes see us initiate in Parliament, you'd be surprised to know that behind a lot of that, if you might even hear it, because I love to give credit where credit is due. I won't just take someone else's idea. I will say, yes, the internet quality standard idea comes from Cressburg Brown. I'm proud to say that's from one of our candidates. So that is very important to me. We also are very happy to see that people are coming to the party. We have people that are coming and saying, look, we like what you're doing. We like the way your style. They like the way how open I am. They like my weekly radio program. They like my debating style in Parliament, leadership, whatever. And I get approached with that, and I say, yeah, absolutely. We would love to have you as part of the party. Are you interested in just being a member? Do you want to be a candidate? Do you want to work within the organization somehow?
So you would say the organization, the party as an organization is robust and it's actively...
I believe we're expanding. We're expanding quite some.
Okay. Any public meetings and stuff to be expecting?
Yeah, well, it was always a sensitive thing with COVID and so on. Some people felt like, in 2021, we should probably avoid doing that. We've been doing Zoom meetings with our members and stuff. But definitely we would want to be doing that aspect of reaching within the districts and so on. So you'll be hearing from that. You'll be seeing that in 2022 for sure. Social media. Everybody knows I'm very big on social media. But personal contact is so important, Sometimes you have to be realistic in St. Martin that some people are very hesitant to go in a big room with a bunch of people to try to reach me. And they feel so much more comfortable just saying, hey, MP Brison, I have a situation. Can you advise me? I want to open this company, but I don't know where to start. Can you tell me where to go? How do you get the business license and so on? No problem. Come to my office. Let's talk. A lot of people like that personal touch, and I pride myself in being able to do that. You know. So
okay, and then over your career in general, your professional career, you've had your instances with bouts of controversy. Mm-hmm. So looking back at all of that, how have you taken that into consideration as you move forward, particularly as a leader and a member of parliament?
I think a lot of it was lessons that you just have to learn. The unfortunate thing is in this day and age, the lessons that I have to learn making those type of mistakes I made in the past, that would never end up on social media or such. When I talk to Teo or to William or all of them, they'll tell me, yeah, boy, I've said some stupid things or I've done probably a few wrong mistakes in my time as a leader. I try not to dwell on it. I try not to repeat it. Those are the two main things I do, and I try to grow. I think especially now, the element of my own spirituality, my own mental and physical health being at the forefront, I feel, for lack of a better term, Super Saiyan mode right now. I'm so focused. I'm so motivated.
So like you went in your hyperbolic chamber.
I know we're talking. Yes, hyperbolic chamber. Go Google it, guys. I felt like I went in and I've come out because I've never done that, You talk about those controversies, and again, when you have the wrong people around you just telling you, don't worry about that, man, everything good, everything, but that's so unfortunate that, you have to be so careful. We look at when like rap stars and NBA players get in trouble, and I never thought I would, because I would never dream to be that big. But you don't have to be that big to get in that kind of trouble or to find yourself in those similar situations. I think the big difference now is that I realize that I've had to make real changes in my life. I've been trying to, sometimes what a temptation is too, is like, oh, look at he become a politician, but he change up. So I almost would resist change. I would resist being the person that I always was or whatever. But the fact is, as you grow, growth is change.
Yeah, your behavior,
your behavior, your surroundings.
Yeah.
Your personality, the things you do in your personal time. Where I go. Those type of things. You have to be realistic that you're going into a political realm where you're representing people all the time, 24/7. It's a lesson that I had to learn. It's a lesson that every politician learns in one way or the other. And I'm proud to have learned it because I'm still young in my political career. I think I still have a lot of the respect and love of many people in St. Martin. I think the biggest thing that hit me is that when controversy happens, I expect a lot of, that boy ain't no good, I know he's no good. You'll have that. Believe me, I got a lot of that. But I also got a lot of prayers, a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of, come on, Rolando, please, we know you can be the best. We know your level of representation. And I've now completely embraced that into another Dragon Ball Z pun, into one spirit bomb, that I'm just taking everything that people have given me and say, I'm not going to take this opportunity for granted. People can expect Super Saiyan mode Rolando. I don't know how else to say it. I'm so motivated to just get this country where we got to go more than ever.
Okay. All right. So finally, in our extended program, basically, is of course, this is a question that many people are asking, wondering, given that MP Akeem Arundel is independent, will he be joining the Up party?
I don't know what the future holds. Right now, I can tell you, just like any young member of parliament, I like to support all the time. In the recent budget debate, for example, maybe before, because he was with another party, he would have hesitated to come to me and say, Rolando, I really have some things I want to bring out. But now that he's independent, he has reached out to me and said, look, the weights are off. I want to be able to speak my mind. I don't want to hold back anymore. Can you guide me? So one thing for sure, I will be guiding MP Akeem Arundel as much as I do any member of parliament. People come to me all the time. They know my research style. Sometimes people want to just find stuff, and I don't know what it is about me, but I'm just that. I'm a whiz at research. And I help people with that all the time. So I'll be definitely guiding and helping Akeem. And actually, Akeem is also guiding me. Akeem has been through a lot in his life as well. He hasn't been away from controversy. And he recently lost his mom. He went through a very, very dark period as well recently. And he came out of it just like I did. And that's good to know that I have somebody in parliament that went through a very deep depression and came out of it on top, with the loss of his mom, me for different reasons. But that encouragement helps a lot. So what the future holds for Akeem, I don't know if he will run with the UP party. I don't have time to think about that right now. We have 2024 to worry about an election. But for right now, he's an independent member that will get support from us.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Any final words?
Well, I want to thank you for the interview. I want to thank everybody once again. Like I just mentioned earlier, I want to thank you all so much for the encouragement. Y'all have, we give Siman a lot of. Sometimes we feel like we're such a negative society, but that's overstated because you don't see the amount of love that there is out there. I felt it from a lot of people that I even haven't heard from in a long time. People that I kind of fell out with. Sometimes you have people that you got this fake beef with, and I don't talk to he no more. And you just had people reaching out, and it's very helpful. You don't have no idea how sometimes that one text can help uplift one another. So I encourage everybody to be positive out there. Let's try. Things are tough out there, but let's try not to forget to love one another and uplift each other as Simatnas. And thank you for doing that with me, and I will be paying it forward to the rest of my Simatnas.
All right, noted. All right, folks, that was MP Rolando Brison, leader of the United People's Party. Thank you for tuning in to the news behind the news with Ralph Cantava on Mix 94.7 FM, and do take care until tomorrow. All righty. Bueno.
All right, man.